Hello Revit users and ambitious architects or engineers, it's me again, and last time we covered if, yes, no statements in Revit. Today we're going to talk about if or and if and statements for Revit. So let's dive straight into that. As you can see, I already have Revit 2024 installed, and now I'm going to go to the new family. So let's create new family. Let's again go with the let's go to the metric and start modeling using metric generic model. We're going to talk about different model families over here in further videos, but today let's stick with the metric generic model. Let's open it up. And to begin with, let's create a table, let's say, the one that we had already in a previous video. So for those who only came here to see how the if and if or statements works, I'm gonna provide you a time lapse in a description, so you can skip to that place. But for the ones who want to see how I create a, let's say, table model over here, can check it out. So let's go into that. As always, to successfully create a family, we would need to use reference planes. So now let's skip this step. Let's create a few of them like this. Let's add dimensions. Let's make them equal. Let's make a dimension for width and depth over here the same way. So this is going to be our width instance parameter, and for this one it's going to be depth. Again, for those who all know this, you can skip this part and go straight to the content that you came for. Okay, let's check it out. Always check it out if all those parameters works the way you want them to work. Okay, now let's create table X. Let's just randomly put the circles in here. Now I want to have the center mark visible so I can align the center points of those circles with this. Otherwise, it may lose the correct position of the circles. Now let's create diameter parameter for all of those circles. It's going to be leg diameter. Say, let's create an instance parameter. Let's check if they work. Let's say 100. That's perfect. Let's hit OK. Okay, so now we have our legs created. Let's go to the elevations and make a height for them. So again, let's create additional reference plane, which will define our height of our legs. I strongly recommend you to check that if you're using a correct reference plane. So use tab to switch between them, because in this situation you can see that reference level and reference plane are overlapping each other. So let's go with the reference level. The reference level means that this element will be placed on the level that is set up, and this reference level defines that. Okay, now let's create additional parameter for leg height. Again, it's going to be an instance parameter, and just simply drag it up and lock it in. Let's double check if it works. Perfect. Now let's create table base. Again, I suggest you to create reference planes. There's plenty of different workarounds, but I always recommend you to go like this. Let's make them equal. Let's put it additional parameters like this, so we will be able to modify the table base width and depth independently. Or you know what? No, I'm gonna use table base offset. Let's say this direction and this direction. It's going to be easier, but if you want to go more in a parametric way, you can create additional parameters for table base width and the depth, let's say. Table base offset. Okay, let's check it out. Table base set. Let's make it 100 millimeters. That's perfect. Okay, now let's create an extrusion according to that, to those reference planes. Don't forget to lock it in. That's it. Okay, now let's go to the elevation view. Okay, as you can see, it's not in the right elevation created. So what you're going to do is just simply drag it like this, and we're going to lock the bottom of the table base to our reference leg height like this. And for the thickness of the table base, we're going to create additional formula, let's say. So now let's go to the family types. Let's create a new parameter, which is going to be table base thickness. Let's use instance parameter. So here I'm going to define the thickness. Let's say it's going to be 80 millimeters. Now I'm going to create a formula that is going to be set it up in extrusion end over here, right? So I'm going to create a formula which we're going to go by leg height plus table base thickness. So I'm going to go to the, again, create a new parameter, which is going to be table base thickness calculation, let's say, in the instance, and let's put it into the other group. So it's not going to be under dimensions over here. And let's copy leg height parameter, and let's copy table base thickness plus table base thickness. Now it's gonna create our the extrusion end at this height, let's say. Let's hit OK, and let's select this rectangle near the extrusion end and select the table base thickness calculation. Here you go. Let's go and check if everything works the way it should. Leg height, let's say 1300, and table base thickness, let's say 150. So apply. That's perfect. Okay, let's check the whole table. Okay, so now let's begin with if and if or statements. I'm going to create additional legs if one of the statements are true. If the depth of the table is higher than, let's say, 3000 millimeters, or the width of the table is higher than, let's say, again, 3000 millimeters. So if one of those statements is going to be true, we're going to have additional legs created. So let's go to the family types. Let's create additional parameter, which is going to be additional legs. Let's create instance, and the data type, let's change to yes, no, and let's group this parameter under the other again. Here it is. So the statement we're gonna look like, you always have to use if, then use or, and you can use and. So let's go with it. Or, so one of the statements mentioned right now, it's going to be it's going to define if additional legs will appear or not. So let's go with the width is more than 3000, or depth is more than 3000. Let's close it up, and if one of those are true, so one is more than 0, which means yes, it's true, and if no, 1 is less than 0, so it's false. So let's close it up, and here we have our additional legs created formula. Let's hit OK. Now let's go to the reference level and let's create those additional legs that we want to have this formula set up with. Again, 4 legs, same procedure. Let's align it up. Now let's create diameters for all of them. Let's use filter and filter dimensions. And let's add a leg diameter parameter. Let's hit it OK. Let's go to the elevation to change the height of it. We can add the extrusion and the leg height parameter like this. Now have a table created, but we want those legs to appear only if that statement is true. So let's go to the visible, graphics visible, and under this rectangle, we're gonna add additional legs. Let's hit OK. Now let's go and change, let's say, width to 2000, and let's hit OK. As you can see, those legs are a bit grayish over here. So once we're gonna load this into the project, and let's place it somewhere. Let's go to 3D view. You can see that we do not have those legs. Now if I'm gonna change the parameter, let's say width to 3100, those legs appeared like this. Now let's take a look if it works both ways. Now let's change the depth to 3000, let's say, and here it is. We have the result. Now let's add additional parameter that works with statement if and. So let's go back to our family project and let's create additional parameter. Let's say center leg. It's going to be yes, no again. Let's group it under the other. Sorry, this line. Okay. Yes, no. It is okay. So now I'm going to create a parameter which will stand for if both width and depth of the table is higher than 3000, I want to create additional leg that's going to be in the center of the table. Okay. So now let's go and to our, sorry, not this, to the reference level, and let's create additional extrusion. Again, I'm pretty sure you already know how all of it works. Let's create center mark visible. Let's align it up. Create additional, sorry, this one, diameter. Leg diameter like this, okay. Perfect. Leg height. Okay. And now, under the visible, we're gonna create a center leg parameter, which will work if all of the statements here will be true. So if and width is more than 3000 and depth is more than 3000, then it's true, otherwise it's not. Sorry, made a mistake. Here it is. Let's hit OK. Now let's load it up again. Override the existing version. Let's go to 3D view and let's check it out. Let's change the width to 3000. It's not yet visible. because it's more than 3000, so it has to be 3001. And here we have additional central leg created. So yeah, so this is the general idea of how those statements works. You can create more complex rules with all those statements to create more complex forms, solids, voids, and so on. And we're gonna definitely cover it up in a future video. So thanks again for watching. It was pleasure for me to provide the content for you, and I hope you subscribe and like my videos. Okay, see you soon.